Have you ever noticed how some people can fall silent and instantly turn every head in the room? 1 second they're part of the chatter, the next they withdraw. No drama, no warning, and suddenly everyone's radar lights up. Colleagues wonder if they've offended them. Friends shuffle closer for clues. Even complete strangers sense the subtle gravity shift. That hush is not ordinary. It is raw evidence that presence isn't measured by volume, but by energy. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung spent a lifetime mapping that invisible currency. He showed that when you stop being habitually available, when you stop answering every ping, soothing every ego, explaining every gesture, you reclaim psychic power you didn't know you were leaking. The world, startled by the silence, reorganizes around you, and that's only page 1 of the story. Think back to childhood. Remember the mini panic that gripped you when a teacher called your name and you weren't ready? That jolt hardwired a lesson. Quick response equals safety, acceptance, survival. Decades later, the lesson still runs the show, only now the classroom is global. Your phone lights up, the little green dot beside your avatar glows, and a whole network silently demands, prove you're alive, prove you care, prove you're compliant, right now. Jung called the mask we present, to please the crowd, the persona. It's not fake in the sense of being a lie, it's a social tool, but a tool turns into a trap the moment you forget you're wearing it. Notice how your shoulders tense when a message lands, how you craft the perfect emoji, how you feel a flicker of guilt if you wait longer than blue-tick etiquette allows. That is the persona in full command, treating every buzz as an emergency drill. The tragedy? Constant compliance trains other people to treat your energy as public property. Every time you jump to respond, you reinforce the belief that you will always jump. Algorithms amplify it. The last seen timestamp on a messaging app is a digital leash. Each refresh invites someone to tug harder. Jung saw the same mechanism in his own break with Sigmund Freud. For 5 intense years, he was Freud's designated heir, mirroring the older man's theories to gain approval. But in 1913, exhausted and inwardly divided, Jung stopped parroting and stepped back to listen to his own dreams. The professional world called it betrayal. History calls it individuation. Individuation starts the moment you let the green dot wink out without apology. At first you feel naked. What if they think I'm rude? But beneath that anxiety is a subtler fear. What if I'm no one without constant reaction? That is the persona exposing its dependency. Here's a quick experiment. Tonight, turn your phone to airplane mode 2 hours before bed. Feel the phantom buzz in your pocket, the reflexive reach for validation. Each time you resist, you chip a flake off the mask. You remember what Jung meant when he said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that privilege is never granted by external permission. It is seized in moments of intentional absence. People around you will notice. Some will respect the new boundary. Others will bristle, accuse, manipulate. Observe who demands immediate access to your mind. Their discomfort is a diagnostic tool. It shows who values your essence and who values your availability. We were taught that courtesy means instant compliance, but courtesy without choice is servitude. Once you see that, the spell breaks. Availability is negotiable, your energy is not. Yet energy, not etiquette, runs the show. And the price of mismanaging that energy is higher than you think. Picture the friend who's always tired, eyes dull, shoulders slumped, yet they swear they slept 8 hours. Where did their spark leak? Jung's answer was radical for his era. Every thought, emotion, and action costs psychic libido, his term for life force, not just sexuality. Each impulsive reaction is like tossing coins into the void. Start a typical morning audit. You wake and immediately scroll headlines, outrage tax, red badges on apps flash, micro-anxiety fee. You compose a reply to a colleague at stoplights, divided attention surcharge. Before coffee finishes brewing, you've spent half your daily psychic paycheck on stimuli that neither nourish nor advance you. No wonder by afternoon you feel like a phone stuck at 3%. To make the leak visible, try the 24-hour energy ledger. Carry a pocket notebook and jot a tick mark each time you feel compelled to defend, explain, or prove something. End of day, count. Most people log 200 micro-discharges. That's 200 times your nervous system jolted from calm to alert. Small on paper, catastrophic in aggregate. Jung warned, that which you resist persists. Modern neuroscience now echoes him. Every time you fight a trivial provocation, replying to a troll, elaborately justifying a late reply, you reinforce the neural circuit that labels the trivial as urgent. Reaction becomes habit, habit becomes identity, identity becomes destiny. But here's the leverage point. The psyche is a closed system. Reclaimed energy doesn't vanish, it pools inside you, intensifying presence. Skip the doom scroll, and by noon you find yourself speaking slower, noticing subtleties, making sharper decisions. People interpret the calm as confidence. They're right. Energy leaks invite predators. Parasites sense surplus they can siphon, the gossip who dumps drama in your inbox, the co-worker who needs a quick favor every Friday, the ex who resurfaces when their life implodes. They are not always malicious, but they are hungry, and you are convenient. Close one valve today. Maybe it's the automatic yes to every calendar invite. Maybe it's the habit of mentally arguing with strangers on social media. Seal that breach, and you'll feel a surprising voltage surge behind your eyes. And suddenly, everything changes. Imagine feeling guilty for emotions that never originated inside you. 1 minute you're calm, the next you're heavy with someone else's shame, anger, or dread. You didn't create it, yet you carry it. Jung named this phenomenon projection, the psyche's tendency to export disowned material onto convenient screens, usually other people. Think of the friend who praises your ambition until your success eclipses theirs, then claims you've become selfish. Or the partner who calls you distant the first weekend you prioritize rest over their crisis carousel. They are reading from a script they wrote long before you showed up. You just walked into the role of villain, savior, or scapegoat. Christiana Morgan, one of Jung's early collaborators, once dreamt of a tower that fed on the blood of visitors. Jung interpreted the tower as a projection device. People climbed it to escape inner chaos, and instead projected that chaos onto the heights. Today, the tower is Instagram stories, office rumor mills, even family dinners where expectations hang thicker than cigar smoke. When you're permanently available, you become a blank wall for shadows to land on. Someone feels inadequate. They project that feeling onto you by calling you arrogant. Someone can't face their laziness. They label your boundaries uncaring. The problem isn't their darkness, it's your willingness to wear it. Break the cycle with 3 questions whenever an accusation lands. Is this emotion originally mine? What concrete evidence supports it? What part of the other person's story might this emotion belong to? Often the answers stun you. The guilt isn't yours, the proof is thin, and the story dates back to wounds that predate your friendship. Recognition alone disentangles hooks because projections thrive on unconsciousness. Now, deploy silence. When someone flings a shadow and you neither defend nor collapse, when you simply let the words hang, then redirect the conversation or walk away, the psychic boomerang returns to its thrower. They face the undiluted echo of their own material. Some will grow. Others will lash out louder. Either reaction reveals whose growth responsibility was never yours to begin with. Silence detonates those projections, and in the shockwave, you'll see which relationships were built on genuine connection and which were contracts for free emotional labor. But that's not all. In the cleared space where old shadows once clung, you'll feel something unfamiliar, the solid shape of you, unpainted by other people's fears. And that emerging silhouette leads straight into the next discipline, strategic withdrawal as an instrument of raw power. Imagine owning the room without uttering a single word. The meeting drones on until you lean back, fold the notes you were about to read, and simply watch. Within seconds, the air thickens. The sales director fumbles his clicker, juniors glance up for cues, even the fluorescent hum seems louder. That tension is not accidental. It is the vacuum left when expected noise disappears. Jung understood this long before alpha male influencers did. He spent months each year at Bollingen, a stone tower he built with his own hands. There he let the lake set his clock, traded Paris lectures for bread he baked himself, and wrote, "At Bollingen I am most deeply myself." The tower's rough-hewn silence forged the concepts that still shape modern psychology. Silence, then, is not absence. It is compressed energy waiting to expand on your terms, psychic compound interest that multiplies each time you refuse cheap expenditure. Neuroscientists now confirm what Jung intuited. Mice exposed to 2 hours of quiet daily grew new hippocampal neurons, the very cells tied to memory and pattern recognition. Translation for humans: intentional hush rewires the brain for depth, clarity, creativity. Imagine the charisma that flows from circuitry tuned for observation instead of reaction. But silence is a muscle. Begin with the 48-hour pause rule. The next time a request lands, a boss lobbying for weekend labor, an ex seeking closure, delay 2 sunrises before deciding. During those 48 hours, jot every impulse: defensiveness, guilt, the urge to look nice. Seeing those reflexes on paper shrinks them from tyrants to data points. By the time you answer, you're choosing, not reacting. Layer in micro withdrawals. Enter a social swirl and vow to speak only after 5 slow breaths. Conversations self-sort. The loud fill gaps in panic. The thoughtful lean into your calm. Manipulators scan for quicker prey. A priceless diagnostic delivered by silence alone. History vindicates the practice. In November 1913, Jung, tormented by visions of a fractured Europe, resigned his Zurich professorship and spent winter sketching mandalas that became the Red Book. Colleagues called him unstable. Psychology calls the retreat revolutionary. Had he stayed available to academia, he'd be a footnote under Freud instead of a lighthouse. Silence also starves emotional pickpockets. They prod you. You think you're better, hoping your protest refuels their script. Offer none. A calm, "I'll get back to you after I've considered it," closes the faucet of attention. Most agitators shrivel without emotional oxygen. Some escalate. Either way, they reveal themselves. Expect discomfort. We're conditioned to equate quiet with weakness. Paradoxically, strategic withdrawal etches you deeper into memory. Scarcity breeds value. Start small. Lunch without scrolling. Lift an eyebrow instead of filling gaps with chatter. Leave the phone in a drawer during workouts. Each micro-act trains the nervous system to handle the voltage of unbroken presence. If guilt whispers, recall Jung's maxim: "Solitude is for me a fount of healing." Healing isn't selfish, it's prerequisite. A cracked vessel can't carry water to anyone. The payoff arrives softly. Meetings pivot when you clear your throat. Partners who thrived on melodrama start editing themselves. Children mirror the calm by self-regulating tantrums. All you did was remove the background noise. Boundaries sharpen in that hush. Notice how "no" can sound like blasphemy to the chronically needy. Say it once and watch faces tighten, voices rise, accusations bloom like algae in still water. Their outrage isn't about your refusal, it's about their addiction to your compliance. Jung called that craving a shadow hunger, disowned parts of themselves outsourced to you for safekeeping. Starving that hunger begins with a decisive, guilt-free boundary. Where do you find a clear no after years of auto-nodding? Run every request through the capacity-desire alignment filter. Do I have energy? Do I actually want this? Does it serve the life I'm building? Any hesitant answer defaults to decline. A brief "I'm not available then" suffices. Each succinct refusal re-educates people. Your time is not communal property. When please fails, guilt grenades roll in. "I thought you cared. Only you can help." Spot these as chips in a casino you've exited. Jung compared such emotional tactics to participation mystique, the primitive belief that we all share one fused psyche. Individuation shatters that illusion. Your mind is a sovereign state. Visas are issued at your discretion. Old conditioning screams that service equals virtue. Flip the ethic. A reluctant yes breeds resentment. A clean no leaves space for someone thrilled to say yes. Efficiency is kindness. Train the refusal muscle with a phone-off Sabbath. One waking period each week when your device goes dark. At first, your thumb twitches. By week 3, dopamine recalibrates and time stretches like warm taffy. The mind that returns from a Sabbath is sharper, kinder, harder to herd. Memorize boundary scripts. Tonight won't work for me. I trust you'll handle it. Pre-forged sentences stop you from spiraling into 300-word justifications that invite negotiation. Pair them with Jung's active imagination. Rehearse the next guilt trip in your mind. Visualize your calm refusal. Watch the storm burn out. When reality arrives, you glide through déjà vu. Backlash will come. Some will dub you selfish, distant, changed. They're right. You've changed the exchange rate between your life force and their demands. Accept the villain badge in stories where you were loved only for utility. Better a brief season of disapproval than a lifetime of invisible servitude. Untangle the final wire. Denying a request is not denying affection. Real love respects autonomy. When you say no to errands that erode your peace, you say yes to showing up whole when presence truly matters. Track the right metric, not favors granted, but vitality retained. That vitality powers every true gift you'll ever give. Drain it, and even your yes becomes mediocre. The first held line spikes your pulse. By the 10th, refusal feels as neutral as breathing. People adapt. Those meant to stay respect the edge. The rest drift, making room for allies who honor your parameters. Loss refines the circle, and in that space, a new you begins. Ever see a leader vanish for months and then return radiating quiet gravity? They left a frazzled manager and came back an oracle. That metamorphosis is individuation in action, the psyche's passage from borrowed identity to integrated wholeness. Jung charted 3 phases: separation, liminality, return, and each demands deliberate unavailability. Separation starts when old roles pinch like tight shoes. Perhaps the corporate achiever wakes at dawn dreading another victory lap, or the lifelong caregiver realizes compassion has curdled into martyrdom. Stepping back becomes survival, not luxury. Outsiders misread the retreat as depression. In truth, it's pilgrimage. Jung withdrew into dreams and stone at Bollingen. Siddhartha left the palace. Virginia Woolf locked her study door. Your version might be a digital hermitage, deleting apps, declining invites, camping alone, whatever restores a clear signal between consciousness and the deep mind. Next comes liminality, the in-between where the old self dissolves, but the new one hasn't gelled. It feels like free fall. Routines vanish. Friendships thin, ambitions pause, most flee back to familiar cages. Persist, and the psyche reorders itself. Dreams intensify. Similar themes leap from songs, billboards, overheard jokes. Jung called this psychic compensation, the unconscious supplying what consciousness lacks. Keep a notebook. Patterns reveal the map. Compass for liminality. Follow fascination. If botany suddenly dazzles you, study plants. Oblique passions are breadcrumbs from the unconscious, guiding you toward unclaimed facets of self. Assemble the mosaic first. The picture clarifies later. Then comes return. One morning, the inner chatter is quiet. Decisions surface without debate. People can't name the difference, but sense it. The leader re-enters the boardroom and delegates sharply. The caregiver sets visiting hours. The world hasn't changed. Your terms of engagement have. Systems will test you. Urgent fires, guilt-laden traditions. Hold the line, they recalibrate. Milestones help. If 90 days of intentional withdrawal leave you clearer, stay the course. If 6 months pass and drama still drains you, tighten boundaries or call a Jungian literate mentor. Remember, individuation isn't a private indulgence, it's a public service. Wholeness shrinks society's appetite for propaganda and control. Write a re-entry charter. 3 non-negotiables like daily solitude, weekly creativity, zero tolerance for contempt. Post it where you'll see it at dawn and dusk. Ritual turns ideals into infrastructure. Watch subtle shifts. Strangers mirror your tempo. Meetings end sooner. Complainers drift away. You're broadcasting a new signal. I run on internal fuel, not external frenzy. That frequency attracts collaborators instead of vampires, partners instead of projects, friendships that exchange wholeness rather than wounds. History's ledger confirms it. Mandela emerged from 27 years of cell-block silence with moral authority no megaphone could buy. Steve Jobs returned from his 1990s exile with ideas that reshaped the pocket computer. Purposeful withdrawal isn't the end of relevance. It's the kiln where relevance is reforged. So what echoes after the retreat? A life engineered around resonance, a circle pruned to integrity, and the unshakable knowledge that silence was never empty. It was your undiscovered self waiting to speak. Silence, boundaries, selective presence, these aren't trendy hacks. They're the ancient mechanics of power Jung decoded for the modern psyche. You've seen how the persona trap forces you on, how unchecked reactions drain psychic capital, how projections stick only to surfaces that stay available, and how strategic withdrawal reclaims that availability as a privilege, not a default. Withdraw long enough and individuation lights up like phosphorus in the dark. Here's the simple ledger. Every unnecessary yes writes an IOU against your peace. Every intentional no adds compound interest to your charisma. Protect the currency. Audit the leaks. Practice the 48-hour pause, the phone-off Sabbath, the boundary scripts, the re-entry charter. Do it for a week and the room will notice. Do it for a season and the room will reorganize. If the journey feels daunting, remember, you're not walking into emptiness, but into the fully furnished interior you once abandoned to keep the exterior tidy. The quiet you fear holds the keys you've lost. Pick them up, lock the former revolving door, and watch who still knocks with respect.